What if I told you that a number you just heard, even if completely made up, is silently shaping your next decision? This is the anchoring effect, and it works in ways you wouldn't expect. The classic demonstration comes from Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. They spun a wheel of fortune in front of participants. The wheel was rigged to land only on 10 or 65. Then they asked, is the percentage of African nations in the United Nations higher or lower than that number? After answering, participants gave their best estimate of the true percentage. The results were stark. Those who saw the 10 gave a median estimate of 25%. Those who saw 65 gave a median estimate of 45%. The random number from the wheel anchored their thinking. Nobody thought the wheel was giving them real information, yet the number stuck. The true value is around 30%, but the group with the high anchor overshot by 50%. The group with the low anchor undershot by 16%. The wheel was irrelevant. The number controlled the answer. Why does this happen? Your brain compares things to a reference point, whether you choose it or not. When you hear a number, even a random one, it becomes that reference. You then adjust away from it, but you almost never adjust enough. The adjustment is lazy. This is not a flaw of stupidity. It is a feature of how the mind simplifies complex judgments. You cannot help but start from the anchor. But anchors are everywhere. Real estate agents know this. List a house for a high price, and every other house in the neighborhood suddenly seems like a bargain. Even the buyer who rejects the high price still uses it as a comparison. A study of real estate appraisals asked professionals to appraise a house. Some were given a high list price, others a low one. The appraisers insisted they ignored the list price, yet their final appraisals differed by tens of thousands of dollars. Experts are not immune. Anchors work, even when you know they are irrelevant. Think about salary negotiations. The first number on the table sets the range. If an employer offers $50,000, you will negotiate upward from there. But if they had started at $45,000, your final number would likely be lower. A study of job seekers found that those who provided a high salary requirement in their interview got offers that were on average $4,000 higher than those who gave a low number. The anchor came from the candidate themselves. It cut both ways. Anchoring also affects judges. In one experiment, experienced judges were given a hypothetical case of a theft. They were told the prosecutor demanded either a low or a high sentence. The judges then gave their own sentence. Those who heard the high demand gave sentences that were 30% longer. The judges denied being influenced, but the numbers showed otherwise. The anchor overrode their training. Can you resist it? Awareness alone does not help. Knowing about anchoring does not stop you from being anchored. In one study, participants were told about the effect before the task. They still showed the same bias. The cognitive process is automatic, but there are strategies. One is to consider the opposite. Before deciding, ask yourself, what if the anchor were different? Could I have made a completely different estimate? This forces you to imagine alternative reference points. Another strategy is to set your own anchor first. In negotiations, make the first offer. That puts you in control of the starting point. The anchoring effect explains why sales tactics work. A retailer marks a jacket at $500, then discounts it to $250. The $500 is the anchor. The $250 feels like a steal. You compare to the anchor, not to the actual market price. Similarly, restaurants list an expensive bottle of wine first on the menu. The other bottles then appear reasonable. Even if the markup on the cheap wine is still high, the anchor makes it look like a deal. The effect is not limited to numbers. It works with any piece of information that you encounter first. A first impression anchors your view of a person. Once you think someone is smart, you interpret everything they do through that lens. If they make a mistake, you explain it away. If they succeed, you confirm your anchor. The same goes for product reviews. The first review you read sets your expectation. Later reviews are judged relative to that first one. Why do smart people make dumb decisions because of anchoring? Intelligence means you can process information more efficiently, but the initial anchor still primes your mental search. A smart person may generate more reasons why the anchor is relevant, not fewer. They rationalize the anchor. They build a story around it. This makes the anchor even stickier. So being smart does not protect you. It may even make you more confident in your biased judgment. There is a famous example from the real world. In the 1970s, British psychologist Peter Wasson gave participants a rule about numbers. He asked them to figure it out by testing their own sets. The rule was simple: any 3 ascending numbers. But participants often anchored on a specific pattern, like even numbers. They kept testing only confirming examples. They never tried to falsify their initial guess. The anchor of their first hypothesis stopped them from looking for alternatives. They were not stupid, they were anchored. The anchoring effect is robust across cultures, professions, and age groups. It appears in real estate, medicine, law, and finance. Doctors anchor on a patient's initial symptom and miss the real cause. Investors anchor on a stock's past price and hold a losing position too long. Even when new evidence arrives, the old number sticks. So what can you do? You cannot eliminate the effect, but you can slow down. Before making a decision, write down your own initial estimate without looking at the anchor. Then compare. That gives you a separate reference. Or deliberately imagine the opposite anchor. If you are buying a car and the salesman starts at $30,000, ask yourself, how does this compare to a $25,000 car? Not to a $30,001. That mental shift can break the grip. The anchoring effect reveals something uncomfortable about human thinking. You are not a perfectly rational calculator. You are a creature of context. The numbers around you, even random ones, become your reality. The wheel of fortune was rigged. But the mind is rigged too. It grabs the nearest number and tells you a story about why that number matters. The number on the wheel is random, but the effect on your mind is not. And that is a fact worth remembering.